Hello dear students. Today in this video, let us understand the concept of supply under GST regime. GST is an indirect tax which is levied on the supply of goods and services. So what is the meaning of supply under GST? Does it mean the sale of goods and services or it is different? Yes, sale is one kind of supply. GST is not imposed only on sales, but it is imposed on all kind of supplies. Okay, so what is supplies? If you look at the PPT, here it includes all forms such as sale, barter, exchange of goods for goods, then exchange, license, rental, if you give any property or any vehicle on rent basis, that is also considered as supply, lease or disposal made in the course of business. So here any kind of supplies, any kind of sales, barter or it may be exchange, and everything is considered as supply under GST concept. Now the next one is that the importation of goods and services, whether or not in the course of business, is considered as supply. Here, to consider as supply in the first concept, it should be in the course of business. In the course of business means it should be a part of business activity. If a person buys anything, okay, if a person gives anything to somebody without not in the course of business, it is purely personal in nature, then it is not considered as supply under GST. So whatever exchange or lease or sale or transfer, it should be the part of business activity, then it is considered as supply. Whereas in case of importation, when you import the goods from foreign country, it may be for business purpose or it may be for personal purpose. Both are considered as supply under GST. So it attracts levy of GST. Next, apart from that, activities specified in Schedule 1 which are treated as supply. There are some specific transactions which are made without consideration also are considered as supply under GST. So what are those items? Those are mentioned under Schedule 1 of GST Act. Along with that, activities to be treated as supply under Schedule 2 of the Act. So these two, the third part and fourth one, these two are the special transactions, special kind of dealings which are specifically mentioned in Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 of GST Act, which should be considered as supply in special cases only. Apart from that, whatever kind of supply, if you go to the next slide, I will make it clear over here. The term supply has been inclusively defined in the Act. The meaning and scope of the Act should be understood by the following points. The first one is that supply of goods or services, supply of anything other than goods or services does not attract GST. So to consider a transaction as a supply, there should be either supply of goods or there should be supply of services or both. So other than this, whether anything is supplied, it is not considered as supply under GST Act. The second one is that the supply should be made for consideration. Consideration means something in return. You should get some amount in return for that supply you have made. It should be for consideration. The third one is that supply should be made in the furtherance of business. It is very important point. In the course of business, as a part of business activity, if the supply is made, then it is considered as supply under GST regime. The fourth one is that supply should be made by a taxable person. You or me, for example, myself, I'm a lecturer, I'm not a businessman. So here, if I give some materials to somebody, it is not considered as supply under GST because I'm giving it as a part of personal activity, not a business. I'm not a business running any business over here. Okay. The fifth one is that supply should be taxable supply. Okay, taxable supply, non-taxable supply. I will explain this concept in the next coming slides. And the next supply should be made in the taxable territory. What is taxable territory here? If the goods are supplied within India or outside India, it is a place of supply gives more importance over here. Next is, let us see what are, so after understanding the meaning of supply, whatever kind of transfers, barter, sale, lease, rental, all are considered as supply, subject to the condition that it should be for consideration, this should be in the course of business, and apart from that, the items mentioned in schedule 1 as well as schedule 2 specifically can also be considered as what? Supply. Now let us look at the next part over here. What are the types of supply under GST tax regime? So ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು? First classification is that based on the location of the supplier and the recipient of goods and services, who supplies and who receives the supply, based on their location we can classify the supplies into two types. The first one is that intrastate supply, the second one is that interstate supply. Okay, what is intrastate supply? If the supplier of goods or services as well as the receiver of goods and services, both the parties, to consider any transaction there is a requirement of two parties, right? Both the supplier as well as the recipient, both will be residing, both will be in the same state or both will be in the same union territory. Then the transaction, the supply between them is considered as intrastate supply. It is considered as intrastate supply. For example, we sell the goods from Udupi to Bangalore. Both the places are within Karnataka itself. So it is considered as intrastate supply. But there is one exception. What is exception? If you sell the goods or if you supply the goods to SEZ in the sense Special Economic Zone or EOUs, Export Oriented Units. These two, even though, or FTZ, all these, even though they are situated within the state and we supply the goods to them, then it is considered as not considered as intrastate supply. Let me give an example. We are having the export oriented unit in Mangalore. So if you are a dealer in Udupi, you supply some materials to export oriented unit in Mangalore. Then even though both the places are in the same state, it is not considered as intrastate supply. It is considered as the next method. This is the exception for this first method. Okay, yes. The next one is that interstate supply. The name itself says when the recipient belongs to one state and the supplier will be in another state. The places of both the recipient as well as the supplier of goods and services will be in different states, or it will be in different union territories, or one person will be in one state and the other person will be in one other union territory. So then in such cases it is considered as interstate supply. Along with that, if we import goods from foreign country or we export the goods to foreign country, that international transactions are also considered as interstate supply. So, intrastate supply within the state or within the union territory, right? And interstate supply is between the states or between the union territory or between one state and one union territory, or also includes exports as well as import of goods or services. After looking at the first classification, let us go to the next one. On the basis of combination. Okay, it is a very important thing over here, combination. So what are you supplying? What is the combination of goods and services you are supplying? Based on that, we can have three classifications. One is composite supply, second one is mixed supply, and the third one is continuous supply. Okay, what is composite supply? Here, supply made by a taxable person to a recipient comprising of two or more supplies of goods and services within a same package and which are naturally bundled and which are attached to each other and supplied for a single price, and out of that one will be the principal supply. Let me give an example. You go to shop and buy one TV set, and you will ask the shopkeeper to install that TV set at your home. So the cost of TV you pay is 20,000, the price of the TV, and the shopkeeper charges some 500 rupees extra for its installation. So total you pay 20,500 rupees. Now what is the thing you have purchased here? TV set. Have you purchased installation alone? No. Installation you should have paid because of purchase of TV sets. It is attached to TV. Therefore, 500 rupees additional amount paid. So, it is the additional thing which is the principal main thing you have purchased here. So, TV is the main thing and installation you are paying is the additional thing. These two are attached. One is the thing, goods. TV is the goods and installation is the service charges you are paying, right? So totally you are paying 20,500. So here 20,500 you are paying for TV as well as installation charges comes to the category of composite supply, because here these two things are not separated. Separately, it cannot be sold separately because the shopkeeper cannot charge installation without supplying TV. It goes along with TV. That's why it is considered as what? Composite supply. Or in other words, we can say that to understand a supply as a composite supply, we have to look at some points. The first one is that the goods or services should be naturally bundled. Naturally bundled means they should be attached commonly. There should not be some different products, right? And the second one is that there should be one principal supply. Main commodity should be there or service should be there. The third one is that it should be sold for or supplied for a single price. Okay, or you can look at the slide over here. I have given one more example. A travel ticket from Mumbai to Delhi may include service of food, being served as board, free insurance and use of air lounge, right? You book an air ticket to Mumbai. For example, you pay some 10,000 rupees. This 10,000 rupees you pay for air travel includes the food they serve during the travel. It also includes the insurance, right? It also includes all other service charges they provide over there. So totally you are paying 10,000 rupees. So 10,000 rupees you are mainly paying for air travel. But along with that you get additional services like food, insurance and all. So food, insurance along with air travel is considered as composite supply here. So which is the main supply, principal supply here? Air travel. Traveling is the main service you are getting and other services are attached to that, because the air agency cannot sell only insurance, right? It cannot sell only food without booking a travel ticket. Travel is the main thing here. Other things goes along with that, attached to it. That's why it is called as composite supply. Okay? Yes. The second one is that mixed supply. There is a major difference between the composite supply and mixed supply, even though both are similar. In case of composite supply, there will be many items sold in a single price. In mixed supply also, many items will be sold in a single price. But in composite supply, they will be attached, naturally bundled, whereas in mixed supply, they can be sold separately as also. For example, you go to a shop and you buy a toothpaste. Sometimes you might find that along with toothpaste, there will be free toothbrush. So, whether they are attached to one another? No, they are separate products, but they have bundled it. They have packed in one single pack and they are charging single price. They can sell either toothpaste separately or toothbrush separately also. So, here they are not naturally bundled. Or if you go to shop and you buy a Santoor soap, along with Santoor soap, you get a pen or a spoon. Whether they are naturally bundled? No, they are dependent on each other. No, it is separately. It can be sold separately also. That's why this kind of supply, here there will be supply of two or more individual supplies. It may be either of goods or of services, but they are sold for single price and they can be sold separately also. Such kind of supply is considered as mixed supply. Okay, I have given one example here. Diwali gift. Okay, Diwali gift, you purchase Diwali gift. In that it contains foods, sweets, chocolates, cakes, soft drinks, fruit juice, etc. So all these are separate products, different products, but it will be bundled in a same package. Right? So such kind of product supply is considered as what? Mixed supply. And the third one, based on the combination, is continuous supply. In case of continuous supply, there will be some continuous supply of goods as well as separately services. But to understand this, we can have a separate classification over here: continuous supply of goods and continuous supply of services. In case of continuous supply of goods, the goods are supplied either by pipeline connection or by cable or wire, like that. So, and the supplier charges the one invoice on a monthly or periodical basis, say per month, okay, or per year, for 3 months, like that he charges a bill. That is considered as continuous supply. For example, you are getting newspapers every day, okay, to whom? So you are not giving the money, paying the money immediately. He will come once in a month and he gives the invoice bill. That comes under continuous supply. In case of continuous supply of services, the difference is that in case of continuous supply of goods, the invoice can be issued either monthly, yearly, or whenever, but it should be issued on periodic basis, not every day. Whereas in case of continuous supply of services, the invoice should be given. The invoice in the sense here, bill. Okay, general word we use is bill. This invoice should be given for every 3 months. In such cases, such kind of supply is considered as continuous supply. It may be supply of water or electricity by the distribution centers, or it may be cable connections, right? So all these we use every day, but we pay periodically after receiving the bill, or in advance also we pay it. So all these kinds of supply comes to continuous supply. Now the next classification of supply based on the recipient, who receives it. Okay, so here if you receive the goods, from somebody, you will be the recipient of goods, right? And for you it will be inward supply, right? You receive the goods or services or both. So for you it is considered as inward supply, and the person who supplies it, for him it is outward supply. For example, if the goods are supplied by A to B, goods are supplied by A to B. For A, it is outward supply, and for B, it is inward supply, because B receives the goods and A supplies the goods. For A, it is outward supply, and for B, it is inward supply. Okay, and the last category classification is based on the taxability. Okay, just a minute. Taxability. The PPT is not clear here. Taxability. What are the kinds of supply based on the taxability? The first one is that nil rated supply. Okay, what is nil rated supply or zero rated supply? Here the goods or services, it attracts GST, but the rate applicable will be 0%, or there is no tax on this. Such kind of supplies are considered as zero rated or nil rated. For example, food items like pulses, milk, egg, meat, etc. For the timing, there is no tax on this, or there is 0% tax. So it is considered as zero rated supply or nil rated supply. The second one is that exempt supply. Exempt supply means those supplies for the timing they are exempt from tax. Okay, yes. And the next one is that regarding the exports for the timing it is zero rated. So these are, and the last one is that taxable supplies. Taxable supply means those supplies which are covered, which are taxable under GST. So here we can have the 4 classification. Exempt supplies. Exempt supplies are those supplies which are not at all taxable under GST. Okay. Next is that nil rated or zero rated. Nil rated example is exports. In India, for the timing when we export the goods from foreign country, the exporter need not pay any GST. So exports are zero rated. The third one is that non-taxable supply. I add here. Non-taxable supply means those tax supplies which are not at all covered under GST regime. Like for example, petroleum products, right, or alcoholic liquor for human consumptions, all these, they are not covered under GST regime. That's why they are considered as non-taxable supply. And the last one is the taxable supply. Taxable supply means other than nil rated, zero rated, exempt supplies and non-taxable supply which attracts GST. So such kind of supplies are considered as taxable supply. So these are done, classification is done based on its taxability. Okay, so like this we can classify the supplies on various bases, like the places, the combination, or it may be based on the recipient of the goods and services, or it may be based on the taxability, or it may be based on the places of recipient as well as the supplier. I hope the video is clear, the explanation. Okay, thank you very much.